All right. Good morning, everybody. Well, it's morning for us. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's morning when you watch this video, but I'm here with Liz, and she is currently a patient of mine in Cornerstone Chiropractic. And right now, this is our temporary location, and we've been sharing this space.
Yes, it's been a lot of fun, and as I mentioned in the last video, it took me a while to get started working with Dr. Jernigan, but since I have, remember how excited I was about those scans? We have new scans!
Progress exams. And I love this because symptomatically, and maybe we can talk about this starting off, what were some of the bigger things that you were experiencing when you came in?
You know, for me, I'm one of those adaptive people. I don't really know that I noticed too much was wrong when I started. Mm-hmm. I just knew that I had this autoimmune thing, this chronic issue. I carried a lot of extra weight. There were just issues with, I don't know, I would never call it confusion because you know me, I would never call it confusion. Sure. But there was definitely some fog, and there were definitely some things that I had, again, learned to adapt with. Mm-hmm. But things are different now.
Yeah, and I think that we might have talked about it on the last video, but too often we see, I think that you probably see it too, we downplay what's really going on in our life. And for good reason, right? Because both of us, we agree that, 95% of the time, what we should be doing is looking forward. Where do we want to go in life? What do we want to do? And then speaking that truth over us, so that we can go there. But we do need to step back a little bit and just get a good assessment of where you are health-wise. That's what we talk a lot about, in my office. But, yeah.
I mean, truly, human organisms, we adapt. And it's not like I was in an accident, right? So it wasn't, poof, one day things are different. This was every day things progressively getting worse, and we manage. Mm-hmm. And I hate the notion of managing things that just don't work. And my immune system was not working. My absorption was not working. This is what we were talking about. I was taking all these supplements and not feeling any better. Yeah. And Dr. Jernigan says, well, is it possible that you're not absorbing? Right. And this might be part of your central nervous system issue. So. Absolutely.
So we're going to show you the scans, what the pre and post scans are. And I want to say post because that's where we are in care.
But we've still got some work to do.
We got some work to do, definitely. Yeah. And so these scans aren't going to be, really bad to perfect because that's just
we're only halfway through.
It's not a quick fix thing. We're dealing with restructuring and enabling your nervous system to start to rewire and start to work properly.
And my chronic illness started when I was like 19.
Right.
And I'm not going to tell you how old I am now, but that was a long time ago.
And the good news is it's not going to take years and years to
correct.
Thank
you for not giving my secret out.
But that's the thing, though. I mean, I suffered with migraines for probably... I started getting chiropractic when I was in undergrad. Right. And for probably 10 to 12 years, I had migraines 3 to 5 times a week. And I got scanned. I found out that there was stress on my nervous system in the upper part of my spine, and literally 2 adjustments. I went from migraines 3 to 5 times a week to, I barely even get headaches anymore, and so it's a
simple tweak.
It is, and it's not to cure migraines. It's not to cure like immunity and things like that, but those are awesome byproducts a lot of times and maybe we should start out here in case they didn't see the first video of why I look at the spine and why I really focus on that. So your spinal column houses and protects your brain and your spinal cord. So your skull, obviously for the brain, but then the spinal cord goes through your spinal column, and there's little holes in the spine that the nerves go through to every part of your body. And in different regions of the spine, those nerves to go to different regions of your body. And
organs.
Absolutely. Every cell, tissue, and organ is controlled by your nervous system. So for your heart to beat, your lungs to breathe,
for your absorption to happen,
for your digestive system to absorb the nutrients, for your immune system to work properly, the endocrine system. A lot of times people talk about chemical imbalance. For that system to work properly, your nervous system controls it.
And so in order to have your nervous system working properly, it's probably best to not have like the bones of the spine crushing them.
Yeah, so a lot of times it can get kind of, we can focus it down to, stress on the nerves, things like that. And what science is really showing is that even if there's a misalignment, it actually sends different signals back to your brain, which starts to change that. And so not necessarily like crushing on the nerves.
Okay.
Like with sciatica, there's absolutely pressure with the nerves. And for about, 5 to 10% of the times, that's really what it is. If you have a disc problem, it can actually start affecting the nerves, like crushing the nerve and putting pressure there. But we were actually finding that proprioception, and I'm not going to get too deep into this with this video because believe me, I could probably talk for 3 days.
I know, right?
But so if there are misalignments and fixations in your spine, it can cause degeneration and it will cause degeneration to occur faster. Okay. Now, with abnormal input from your nervous system, because proprioception allows your brain to know where your body is at all times in space.
Did you see that? Can you do that?
Yeah.
I can't do it with my eyes. But I
can! Yeah, you can. There we go. So that signal isn't getting back if there's a misalignment and fixation in your spine, and there's actually a different signal that goes back, and it's actually nociception. And you can think of nociception, the majority of those receptors are pain receptors, but it doesn't have to be that. I like to talk about them as warning signs. So it's constantly sending to your brain, warning, 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 there's a problem here. And your brain's trying to get that message back, like, what's the problem? And it's not getting that feedback, and so it causes a stress response in your system. And that can cause, chronic stress can lead to a ton of different things. And and so now with misalignments, it can cause inflammation, and that can affect those nerves as well. So that was a huge roundabout way of saying that we are moving forward with the science. As we know more and more about the spine, the nervous system, we adapt. And I think that's a critical element of our office is adapting to the new research and understanding what's going on.
Well, and it's funny because now you're talking about adapting to the new research, but you said something I was here I'm here like 3 times a week to do this the right way. And the reason that we do it that way is kind of behavioral in nature, right? Like this is when you have this habit of being out of alignment, if we don't address it in subtle, like small achievable goals like we would do with any behavioral treatment, then it's just going to flip back. Yeah. And this is the difference, I think, one of the major differences between what you do and what some other chiropractors do that say come back when you're in pain or come back in a week. Those habitual misalignments will just slip back because of how we're sitting. Do you ever see me do this? You do a lot. Yeah. And it will just put us back to where we were automatically.
That's so good.
So what we're trying to do is make those subtle adjustments so that the habit changes.
Isn't that so crazy?
It's so cool.
So we're not a quick fix office, no. and I think that you don't have to be a scientist to really understand that, right? It's like we live in a quick fix society, and we know that whether you're working out, to get that health goal that you want, or you're eating healthy, or whatever you're doing, whether you're getting chiropractic care or massage therapy, whatever it is. A lot of times we're saying, well, if it didn't work after the first time, then it doesn't work. And this supplement, right? Maybe it didn't work after the first week that I used it. And really, we know, just like learning how to read, learning how to ride your bike, learning how to do all these things, it takes practice, it takes time, it takes effort. And
repetition.
And that habitual practice leads to a byproduct. Whether it's learning how to ride, you can ride, your bike without thinking about it. Whether it's, let's talk about, losing weight. Oh, yeah. Losing weight should be a byproduct of giving your body what it needs, minimize what it doesn't, and working out and being active. And so when you're focusing on that, you get an awesome byproduct of proper weight control, right? And your natural body weight. And so I just love that, because when you are practicing, the first time you learn how to read, it takes time, and a ton of effort. And you focus on it a lot. And then pretty soon, after you've done that for a long time, you don't even have to think about it. You look at a sign and you're already reading half of the sign and you're just glancing at it. And so that's the same thing, like you were saying, when your spine is misaligned and it's putting stress on the nervous system, your nervous system's going to adapt. It's going to compensate for that. And just like when you touch a hot pan, your arm's going to pull back before you even know it a lot of times. And and what your spine does, if you have a forward head posture, or if you lean to the side a lot, or you hunch over, your spine's going to start to compensate for that. And that's why we see scoliosis. That's why we see loss of neck curves. And so since your body is constantly compensating to it, it is found if I compensate in this certain way, I can minimize the amount of stress on my spine. And so what we do as we start to gently and specifically start to correct those misalignments. I'm sorry about that.
Got an alert, my bad.
Once we start to correct those misalignments, your nervous system, right, it accepts if it accepts that, that force, that impulse, then that's good. But then a couple days later, what are you back to, right? You're back to that habit. You're back to that, what is its new normal. And so once we start to constantly, or 3 times a week is usually what people start out. And we just very small, minor adjustments.
We're going to do one for you today.
Very much my philosophy is less is more. A lot of times what people do is they want to move every bone in the spine, every joint in your body, and it's just too much for your nervous system at once. It's like learning how to read and you're jumping to chapter books.
Yeah.
It's just that's not how any of this works. And so if we continually find exactly the misalignment that you need to get adjusted, then your body has time to accept that new normal. Dr.
Jernigan wants us to be patient as patients.
And I am a go kind of guy. So it does, it's counterintuitive, right? I want the results now.
But it's the way we got to do it.
Absolutely. And so let's
dive
into the scans.
Okay, we're going to look at the scans. I'm going to get adjusted right here in front of all of you because it's awesome. It feels amazing. It doesn't take a lot of time.
It doesn't, no.
And Dr. Jernigan is awesome. So he also takes care of my son. This is how much faith I have in this man. So let's get to it.
Awesome. Okay, so this first scan, and it's probably going to be backwards with this, so I'll try my best.
All right, go closer.
But if there's any numbers or anything, you'll see. So left might be right, right might be left. So this first scan over here is called a heart rate variability scan. So this is checking how well Liz's nervous system is keeping up with the day-to-day stressors in her life. And this next scan is an SEMG scanner. So this is going to check for the nerve activity running through the muscles along your spine. And you can tell there's obviously, I don't have to explain what the colors mean, but red does not mean good. That's a lot of stress. And you can see there's a ton of stress up top, and there's another big bar down at the bottom. And you can almost think of it like a towel. So if you twist a towel at the top and the bottom, that middle section a lot of times is the tightest part. And so I see a lot of people coming in and they might have shoulder pain, they might have mid back pain, and a lot of times it's because of the stress at the top and bottom. And so if I see big red bars right here, I don't necessarily adjust where the red bars are, because that might be a compensation and not the primary issue. Right. And so I do neurological reflexes, which you'll probably see here if it covers that. Otherwise, we can move the camera and everything. Yeah. So I do neurological reflexes to find out where the primary misalignment is for every visit that you come in, and every visit's different because we have different physical, chemical, and emotional stresses in our lives, and our spines respond differently to those. And so every visit's different, everyone's unique, and that's why we keep seeing progress from day one all the way to throughout care.
I'm very impatient. I want you to get to the black line.
Sorry.
I'm not being patient.
Oh, sorry, guys. All right. So these black lines is what she's talking about, and I think this is what we're going to hone in on for this video. That gray line, that gray outpouching right there throughout from the bottom of the spine to the top, that's what perfect is. That's what normal is, and that's what we want to see. And Liz is that black line. And you can see at the top of her neck, right at the base of her neck, at her shoulders, it goes off of the chart. And
because I'm awesome.
Yeah, and then right afterwards, it dips back in and collapses in. And so I like to talk about this as flooding and drought.
Okay.
In flooding, right here, right, because that's way too much stress there, things can still live in droughts, right? Like if there's a lot of water coming through, things can still live, or in flooding, but droughts is really where we start having problems, right? If there hasn't been rain in a couple weeks, like plants start dying. Just to say that
things can live in a flood, but not so much in a drought.
Correct. And what I see clinically is when there's been a lot of stress on your system for a long time, at first it starts out in this way huge outpouching, but then after a long time it starts to cut back in and kind of become more of a chronic issue. It starts to become more of a drought.
I've got a yellow bar on there somewhere.
And
too, right?
Yep, you do have a yellow bar right here in her neck, and that's really where these bars start to come in and collapse. And so that's showing me that this issue's been there for a long time, which matches up with, case history and everything that we dive into there. So after 1 month of care, 12 visits, her black line went from this to this. So much better. And now her nervous system's starting to work properly. It's starting to be more efficient, because when you came in, her total energy, how much energy she was using just to sit up.
Yeah, this was literally just sitting straight up.
Yeah, was 2.5 times the amount of energy that you need. And so she went from 240 to 180. So that's 60 points that that less energy that you're actually using, your body's being just more efficient.
Sit.
And you start noticing things like you were telling me. It's like I am becoming more and more aware of the pain in my life.
I came in and I said, how come I hurt more now?
Yeah.
And he smiled.
Yeah.
He was like, because your body's talking to you now.
It's just like working out for the first time in a long time. That first week is you're gonna be sore. Yeah. And it's good sore. And we know it's good sore because the scans are starting to show there's a ton less stress there. And a cool byproduct of that is you start noticing positive changes in your life, whether it's more energy, whether it's
better sleep.
Better sleep is a huge one. Breathing easier. I find a lot of people that come in, even if they don't put it on their paperwork, they say to me a couple weeks into care, hey doc, I don't know if this is from chiropractic or what, but I'm not as stressed as I used to be. Mm. And I think this is why we connect very well, is because that's exactly that's your lane, is being a behaviorist. And I'm going to do some videos on my website too, so that my audience can understand more about what you do, because when you look at your body as a whole, you can't help but get amazing results when you're looking at it, right? I like to say, if you give your body what it needs and minimize what it doesn't, just that sentence alone, if you just understand that, you know how to be healthy. Yeah. If you give your body what it needs, minimize what it doesn't, it's designed to heal. And So
I worked with doctors who would tell me I was never going to overcome this. I had to learn to accept all the medications, all of the supplements, which I obviously wasn't absorbing. Yeah. So nothing helped. It was costing me a fortune, costing my dad a fortune, because he had to help me with a lot of this. And, now I've got this guy here. I asked him what the word never means. Yeah. He gave me a funny look. It's great to work with people who say the human body is designed to heal if you give it what it needs.
Yes.
And so there are quite a few professionals in the Research Triangle Park area, or in the Triangle area, whatever we call it. We're both new here, so we're still working on terminology. But I've come across quite a few people that, we all believe in this modality of health.
Yeah.
and health care instead of illness care.
Mm-hmm.
We don't treat symptoms.
Right.
We treat the root causes. And, oh my God, I'm glad I'm here.
Yes, I'm going to go get a chart.
A chart? I don't know what this chart is.
Like a little
handout.
So
yes, this is one of my favorites.
Kind of Liz is talking about. And we talked about it with the different regions going to different parts of the body.
Yeah.
And if there's stress with the nervous system, it causes that part of the body to malfunction. And as a result, it leads to symptoms. And what Liz is talking about is if you come into my office and you have headaches, I don't adjust the top part of the neck. Right? Because that would be, I'm trying to adjust the neck to cure the headaches. And what I do is I do these neurological scans that shows me where the stress is. And so once we start to adjust that and address that, then in these different regions, every single part of your body is going to start to heal and function better. And as a result, guess what starts going away as a byproduct? There's different symptoms in our lives, right? And so I think that's huge, and I think that was a great, add-in on that. So we're going to do an adjustment, and it's going to give you a little bit of an idea of what a visit looks like. Yeah. And every single visit's different, so I don't know what I'm going to adjust with Liz today, but I'm going to do neurological reflexes, and I'm going to check different areas of her spine to see if that's the area that needs to be adjusted or if that's the area that needs to be left alone. And I think that's one of the biggest things is you got to know when to adjust, of course, but you also got to know when not to adjust. And I think that's one of the biggest things is because if there's a fixation in your spine throughout your whole spine and I just move every single bone, your nervous system's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's going back to learning to read and diving into a chapter book. Right. You're going to your nervous system gets overwhelmed and it just locks in even deeper. Right. And so that's why I love the scans. I know that what we're doing is the best thing for you when I see such radical transformation in those lines. Let's do this.
Okay, should we move the table so that people can see?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just go a little sideways. I'll let you move it. I don't want to throw my back out.
Yeah.
All right, we got it all?
I think that's good.
Perfect. And I'm short, so he's got to make an adjustment to the table for me.
Yes. It's all about it being adaptable, right? Adapting. Perfect.
Yeah? Watch this, guys. All right. Do you want my hair up?
That's fine. Perfect. You can go up a little bit higher. Perfect.
Okay.
Nice and relaxed. And I like to just stretch out the lower back. And really when I do this, I tell my patients to take a deep breath in and all the way out. And you can see with Liz, maybe you can see it on the screen, but she is using her diaphragm to breathe. So I like to call it as belly breathing. And it's down here. That's very good. That's how you should. Most people breathe up here at their shoulders. And we call that stress breathing. So, ready?
Yeah.
Turn your head to the left. To the right. Back to center. So I'm checking her sacrum, which is the base of your spine. All right, take a deep breath in and all the way out.
And that was an adjustment.
And that's an adjustment. And the cool thing about using this instrument is it fires so quick. Force is mass times acceleration. So since it fires so quick, it doesn't have to be a big, heavy adjustment. It doesn't have to be painful. Turn your head to the left, to the right, back to center. And another thing with these adjustments is I find out which torque, what way, not only has the bone, which way has it shifted out of alignment, but also I'm finding how it also rotated as well. So deep breath in and all the way out. Good. To the left. To the right. Back to center.
I feel like it's always the case. Like, it's always harder for me to turn to the right until, like, the second or third time. Whatever adjustment you've made has made it easier.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Deep breath in and all the way out. Perfect. Awesome. You're all set?
All set?
That's it. And that's how, with just that little bit.
Yeah.
With just doing that, we get scans that go from that to that. And as a byproduct, as we start doing that, your body's going to start healing and functioning better. And as a result, you're going to have less and less of these.
It's just the way it goes.
Yeah. So if you have any comments, any questions, feel free to reach out to us, whether it's health related, whether it's, our mindset, whether it's how we view this world and how we view day to day, because and on a different video we're going to be talking deeper into that 95% of the time when we're focusing on the future, when we're focusing on moving forward and going towards goals, not away from what we don't want in life. And a lot of times, if I can just leave you with this, we've all heard of don't think about a purple elephant. And as a result from that statement, right? Like, don't think about
the purple elephant.
Everybody does, right? And so, but then, and we know that, right? And it's almost silly to even bring up because it's like so basic of a knowledge that we know. But then we say, I just wish I didn't have so many headaches.
Right.
I wish that I wasn't so tired. I wish that, my job didn't suck so much, and it's like, as a result, we just keep focusing more on what we don't want. And so you can't get to a goal, you can't get to a future, a vision, by looking at what you don't want. And I think that's a great place to stop for today.
I think so too. Thanks for watching. This has been a fun ride. Absolutely. And I'm really glad that I can share my progress.
Definitely.
This has been great.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
See you soon.